MrBeast helped 1,000 people to see again, and the internet hates him for it. This is wild on so many levels and so revealing of human nature. And I know this story isn't exactly fresh anymore, but something very unique and very concerning happened here, which feels like a simultaneous high point for the internet as well as its lowest point yet. Because an extraordinarily wealthy YouTuber changed the lives of 1,000 people forever. And let's not just skip over that. A YouTuber did this. A YouTuber. Most of the global population still doesn't even know that being a YouTuber is a job. And yet YouTubers are now rapidly rising to the resource levels of multinational corporations. This MrBeast video is a glimpse at our future. Influencers are incredibly powerful. And I would not be at all surprised if maybe a decade from now an influencer actually becomes president of the United States. With that said, that comes with some very dystopian truths, because my personal truth is that I felt very uncomfortable watching this MrBeast video. Because yeah, it was heartwarming and it was really great to see these people's lives helped, but at the end of the day, it's entertainment. And we know it's entertainment because it's on his main channel. There's another philanthropy channel that logs all of the purely charitable stuff. And as much as I loved what happened here, it does feel weird to see a video like this right next to a video like hydraulic press versus Lamborghini, 100 kids versus 100 adults, or last to take handoff jet keeps it. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with MrBeast in general. As a YouTuber, I find his videos fascinating and ridiculously valuable. But the videos where he does stuff like crush a Lamborghini just because doesn't really sit well with me. Because yeah, it's a once-in-a-lifetime vicarious experience, and I suppose it's valuable because he makes the money back. But I really don't like the cash splash YouTube culture. Which is why the blindness video is actually a pleasant, albeit still conflicting surprise. Because an arse ton of money was spent on this, but it did so much more than just give people something to watch during their lunch break. And because it did something good, cue immediate internet backlash. I'm scared of how society has become. People like MrBeast who take advantage of the disabled and poor to use them for content get praised. It doesn't matter if he helps them out. He doesn't care about them and is just using them for a video prop. MrBeast is the true Antichrist. Spoken by a true Christian there. This is a classic internet thing. It happens a lot in my main channel niche, but a lot of people love to get upset on behalf of others. The white knighting just gives them that nice jolt in the nutsack and often results in some morsels of Twitter clout being thrown their way. But look, let's be as pessimistic as possible here. Let's assume that this whole MrBeast video is a stunt. He doesn't care at all about the people he's helping, and this whole thing is a brand building maneuver. Even in that extreme case, this is still an objectively good thing that's happened here. And he should be rewarded with praise, mostly because what good does punishing it do? That would only teach people who hold real power to help that no good deed goes unpunished. And that perhaps spending their vast quantities of wealth on charity is just a lot more trouble than it's worth. I should just crush another Lamborghini instead. No one complains about the Lamborghini crushing, which means that less people are going to get the help they need, but hey, the middle class keyboard warrior on Twitter will finally have some peace of mind. In my opinion, one of the best things that could come from this is incredible brand building and influencers emulating it. Realizing that, hey, this charity thing might be a good idea, rather than continuously scamming our audiences with crypto. Speaking of crypto, if you wanted to criticize MrBeast, that is one area you could look into, because he has publicly spoken about his involvement in what I would personally describe as a pump and dump scheme. But look, let's stick to helping the blind for now, because two things can be true at the same time. You can do a bad thing here and a good thing there, so we should call out the bad and we should praise the good. I think it's very simple social maths. But people get especially weird when it comes to charity. And in my experience, it reveals a truly dark side of humanity. Like, I've received some horrible comments on my main channel due to my opinions about comic book pirates. These comic book pirates, to be precise. But the worst comments I have ever had have all been as a result of charity. Every September on the main channel, I run a drive called Subtember, and last year we were raising money for a group called Gamers Outreach, which provide game consoles for sick children in hospitals through these specially made go-karts. And my god, did some people completely lose their shit at me. People were especially vocal about the price of each cart, which was $3,500 US. And sure, that does sound like a lot. As a result, it had a lot of people accusing both the charity and me personally of embezzling money, mostly based on the assumption that they could just wander into their garage and whip up something similar out of off-cut wood. And it's just like, mate, think about what you're saying for a second. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but each cart comes with each latest gen console, a PC, and a suite of games for all of them. Then you need to consider that each cart needs to be constructed to medical standards, because hospitals have some of the most strict equipment requirements in any industry for each and everything that passes through their doors. You can't just wander into a hospital with these Saturday woodwork project. Then there's the admin costs of making this all happen. Oh, and also the cost of shipping them across the planet, in my case from the US to Australia. And you know what? All of a sudden, $3,500 doesn't even sound like enough to make it all happen. But none of that matters to the people who just see a bit of plastic on wheels and think, yeah, this charity is almost certainly a scam. Like, just take a second and use Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually the most likely. So is it more likely that this is a highly convoluted and highly illegal, yet somehow highly public operation, siphoning all of your monies? Or is it more likely that you just aren't aware of everything that goes into the process of shipping and making these? Or is it something even more revealing? This is my personal speculation. I think this reaction has very little to do with people caring about helping other people. Those who accuse MrBeast of not caring almost certainly do not give a single nugget of shit for those people themselves either. And this is complete armchair psychology happening here, but the more I deal with masses of people online, the more I see cognitive bias at work. A great example would be people who tell creators to get a real job. They're almost always the people who hate their own jobs and have to come up with a way to justify their own lives. And the way they do that is through convincing themselves that the work they have has real tangible value. And you know what? It probably does, but they further convince themselves that mine doesn't. That their work is an honorable service to humanity, whilst mine is incredibly shameful. So it's weird, but they convince themselves, well, at least I'm not a very well-paid person doing what I love. That's essentially what's happening. But I think that charity has a similar principle. When people see someone donate or do a good thing, a common response from a sliver of the population is guilt. That thought of, why aren't I doing the good thing? But rather than confront that, it's a lot easier to just vilify the charitable actions, because then you don't have to face your own insecurities. If you can convince yourself that the charitable action is in fact bad, then you know what? It's actually a good thing that you're not doing anything, because at least you're not contributing to the bad thing that is charity. Evil charity. And this comes in several forms. A common one is the response that just because a wealthy person donated X amount of money, it is completely meaningless because they didn't give away their entire net worth. The sort of, yeah, well, that would just be the equivalent of me giving 1 cent. Except it isn't, and even if it was, you didn't give the 1 cent anyway. Although I think my favorite response is charity power scaling. The idea that your contribution is meaningless because you're not giving it to the most worthy cause. For example, MrBeast, oh, you're helping blind people to see, are you? Well, why aren't you using that money to help starving children instead? They clearly have the greater need. And I encountered this a lot with Gamers Outreach. Entertaining sick children doesn't rank very high on the charity power scaling. So I got a lot of, why aren't you helping starving people or domestic violence victims or animal shelters or whatever? You could and should be doing that instead, Mr. Internet Man. And yeah, I guess I could, but also you could and you're not doing it, so nah. The reason why I chose Gamers Outreach is because it's in line with the mission of my main channel. Because One Piece is a series about escapism, dreams, and adventure. And I think that being able to provide escapism and adventure to sick kids is a pretty worthy endeavor. Apparently, I was wrong. And to be clear, I don't want to be praised for it. I do it because it's a way to use my platform to make just a tiny, tiny bit of difference in the world. I don't want praise, but I also don't want to be actively attacked for it. Honestly, if I'd done nothing at all, it would have been less mentally taxing. Which, again, isn't the message we want to send to anyone doing charitable work. But let's also talk about personal benefit, because MrBeast certainly does benefit from this video in terms of not only revenue, but more importantly, publicity and brand building. He absolutely has something to gain from this action, which makes a lot of people feel a bit, There's a common thought that charity should be conducted with zero personal gain whatsoever, and I think that's nice. But also, if that were true, then 99% of charities would probably just fold immediately, because huge funding does come from corporations and individuals who are looking for a little bit of personal gain, be it tax, be it publicity, be it whatever. I don't care, because my view on this is, let them be praised. If you're going to pay for the surgery of 1,000 people to regain their sight, then I also think that's not something that should be done in private. That's something that should be publicized as much as possible. Because in addition to helping those people, it will also draw attention to the actual issue. Before this video, I had no idea that half of all global blindness is fixable with a 10-minute surgery. That blows my mind, and it makes me question a lot of things. But also, charity has this weird correlation with porn, which I'm sure isn't a sentence you expected to hear in this video. But for whatever reason, we are encouraged to keep our charitable endeavors private, because if you publicize it, you've got something to gain, so you should just be doing it in secret, like funneling money into your monthly Pornhub subscription. And if you do proudly proclaim what you've done for charity, then a lot of people will react like you've just listed your top 10 jerk-off videos. Why? Why is it like this? I think it's because a lot of people get uncomfortable with charity. They start to feel guilty about their lack of contributions, and to make themselves feel better, it's a lot easier to find a way to vilify the person doing the giving. When I do drives on the main channel, I'm often asked, why aren't you just doing this in private? Why are you announcing this? Why are you trying to gain something personally from this? And the reason is because one, it's not just about the money, it's about doing it for awareness. Another reason is, well, it is about money, and we're going to raise significantly less economic units if I'm the only person contributing. And also three, I do donate to charities in private. I donate to 4 different causes on a monthly basis, but I'm not going to tell any of you what they are, how much I give, because then I'll be accused of using that for clout. But the point is, instead of looking for a way to vilify someone, just do the simple thing and acknowledge that some good was done. Charity should not be treated as some sort of taboo. And if a video like Mr. Beast gets produced, then praise the crap out of it. Use your viewing power, which is the most valuable currency on YouTube, and give it some retention. But basically, do what you can to encourage people to make more of this and less of crushing Lamborghinis with hydraulic presses. Because right now, the act of paying for 1,000 people's surgery is getting a hell of a lot more criticism than just crushing cars that cost $250,000 each for 30 seconds of entertainment.